The council chamber was filled with whispers, their alien voices echoing against the tall stone walls. Glowing crystals lit the place with cold blue light, and shadows danced across the faces of the judges. At the center stood the human, his wrists bound by metal cuffs, his face bruised but his eyes sharp. He did not lower his head, even when all the aliens looked at him as if he were less than nothing. One of the elders leaned forward, his voice carrying the weight of final judgment. "The human is weak," he declared. "He has no place among us. He has failed the trials. He has no honor." The crowd of aliens nodded. Some laughed, their sharp teeth flashing. Others hissed in agreement. To them, the human was a mistake, a fragile creature who somehow survived where stronger beings would have perished. But the council had no use for weakness. The elder raised his hand, his long fingers curling like claws. "Therefore," he said, his tone heavy with cruelty, "we will send the human into the jungle of beasts. No one survives there. He will be food for the predators. His death will prove the truth we already know." A murmur of approval spread across the hall. Some aliens grinned, their eyes gleaming with hunger. They loved the thought of watching the human's failure. They wanted to see him torn apart. The human listened in silence, but inside his chest his heart beat like thunder. He knew what the jungle meant. He had heard the stories whispered by other prisoners. Creatures the size of war machines, fangs that could crush bone, claws that could shred metal. No one had ever returned. The guards unlocked his chains and pushed him forward. Their armor clanged as they marched him to the edge of the council chamber. Beyond the great doors, the jungle waited, dark and endless. As the doors opened, the smell of wet earth and thick plants rushed inside. The air was heavy, full of mist. Strange sounds echoed from within, growls, screeches, and the slow thud of something massive moving through the trees. The human paused at the threshold, his bare feet sinking into the mud. Behind him the aliens watched, expecting fear, expecting him to cry. But he only looked back once, his eyes burning with a quiet fire. "You think I will die," he said in a low voice, his words sharp as blades. "But I will not. I will return. And when I do, you will see me differently." Laughter roared behind him. The aliens could not believe his words. They mocked him. They shouted promises of his death. Some even began to chant like a cruel celebration. "The jungle will eat the human. The jungle will eat the human." The guards shoved him forward and the doors slammed shut, sealing him inside. Jungle stretched before him like a living nightmare. The trees rose high above, their branches heavy with vines that dripped glowing liquid. Strange flowers opened their petals and released a sweet but poisonous scent. Every shadow seemed alive, every sound a warning. He took a deep breath, his chest rising as he steadied himself. He was alone, but he was not afraid. The first steps were slow, the mud pulling at his ankles. The silence of the chamber replaced with the wild voice of the jungle. Insects hissed, creatures scurried, something roared in the distance. A deep sound that made the ground tremble. The human tightened. His fists, his mind sharp. He had no weapons, no food, no armor, only his body, his will, and the burning anger that kept him alive. He walked deeper into the jungle, and the canopy swallowed the light. The world grew darker. Glowing eyes appeared in the bushes, watching, waiting. Suddenly, a branch snapped. The sound echoed like a thunderclap. The human spun around, his muscles tense. From the shadows emerged a beast unlike anything he had ever seen. Its body was massive, covered in thick blue fur that glistened with rain. Its jaws dripped saliva, sharp teeth like daggers, eyes glowing yellow with hunger. It growled, and the sound shook the air. The human's heart pounded, but he did not run. He planted his feet firmly on the ground, his eyes locked with the creature's. This was the test. This was the sentence. This was the beginning of something greater. The beast lowered its head, ready to strike. The human clenched his fists, ready to fight, and as the jungle roared to life around them, the human whispered to himself, "I will survive." The beast growled low, its hot breath steaming in the cold jungle air. Its yellow eyes locked onto the human, hunger and rage mixing together. Every drop of saliva that fell from its fangs hissed when it touched the wet ground. The human stood. Still, his chest rising and falling slowly. He knew if he made one wrong move, the creature would rip him apart in a heartbeat. He had no weapon, no shield, only his bare hands and his will. The alien council had hoped he would scream. They wanted him to run. They wanted the jungle to swallow him quickly. But instead the human stood tall, refusing to bow. The beast circled him, its giant paws crushing plants and splashing mud. The ground shook with each step. Its growls rumbled like thunder. The jungle seemed to fall silent, as if every living thing was waiting to see what would happen. The human slowly reached for a sharp stone on the ground, his movements small and controlled. The beast's eyes followed him, its lips curled back to show its deadly teeth. Then the creature lunged, fast and furious, its jaws snapping with the force of a storm. The human threw himself to the side, mud splashing against his skin. The beast's teeth missed him by inches, but its roar shook the air, rolling across the wet ground. The human scrambled to his feet, his muscles burned, but his mind was sharp. He gripped the stone tightly, his only weapon against the giant predator. The beast turned and attacked again, its claws slashing through vines and bark. The human dodged. The stone scraped across its thick fur, but left no wound. The beast snarled, its eyes glowing brighter with anger. The human realized then that he could not kill it with brute strength. The creature was too large, too powerful, but he could outthink it. He could outlast it. He backed away slowly, his eyes never leaving the beast. The jungle behind him stretched deeper, darker, full of unknown dangers, but also full of chances to survive. The beast prowled closer, growling louder. Then it leaped again, jaws wide, claws reaching. This time the human did not run. He ducked low, slammed the stone into its jaw with all his strength. The sound cracked. Through the air, the beast roared in pain, shaking its head violently. For a moment, the human thought it would retreat, but instead, the beast stared at him with something new in its gaze. Not just hunger, but recognition. It had fought many creatures in this jungle, but none had stood against it like this. The human's chest heaved, sweat and rain mixed on his skin. His knuckles bled from gripping the sharp stone. But he did not step back. He raised his chin and stared into the glowing eyes of the predator. The beast growled, but slower now, the sound less rage and more testing. It circled him again, watching, measuring. The human felt the weight of the jungle pressing in. Strange eyes glowing from the shadows, other predators watching, waiting to see which one of them would fall. Every muscle in his body screamed. Every instinct told him to flee, but he stood his ground, because he knew one thing. If he ran, he was already dead. The beast lowered its head and stepped closer, close enough that its hot breath washed over his face. Close enough that he could see scars running across its muzzle, old battles written into its skin. Slowly, carefully, the human lowered the stone, his hand shaking but steady enough. He did not attack again. He did not scream. He only whispered. "Not today." The beast froze, its ears twitching. It tilted its head as if it had understood. Moments passed, heavy and endless. The jungle held its breath. Then the beast turned sharply, its tail whipping through the air. It walked back into the shadows, its growls fading as it disappeared into the mist. The human dropped to his knees, his body trembling, not from fear, but from the surge of survival. He had faced death and lived. He had faced the beast and stood his ground. But deep in his chest, he knew this was not the end. The beast had not spared him out of mercy. It had spared him because the fight was not finished. The jungle still had more trials, more dangers waiting, and somewhere in the darkness, the beast would return. The human stood again, wiping the blood and mud from his face. His eyes burned with the fire of survival. He whispered into the jungle, "You sent me here to die, but I will not give you that victory." Above him, the storm thickened. Thunder rolled across the alien sky, and in the distance, the beast roared again. A promise that this was only the beginning.